I think we can all agree on one thing. Stephen King is the undisputed king of horror, as is obvious. Since reading his works or watching the movies based on them, we've been unable to sleep for years and will never be able to view a clown or a red balloon in the same way ever again. King has produced several works of literature that have been endured for many years. Unbelievably, the author has no memory, not a single memory of penning one of his most well-known books. Pretty shocking, right? Just keep on watching and very soon you'll understand why. Since the 1970s, King has been penning horror stories. When his first book, Carrie, was released in 1974, he became an overnight success. No longer did King have to live in a cramped little trailer park with his wife and kids. The book about the telekinetic teen launched King's entire career. Soon, he was churning out novels from left to right. The Stand, It, and The Shining, just to mention a few. Eventually, it got to the point where you could never enter a bookshop without seeing one of his novels exhibited by the front window of bestsellers. Knowing this, what would you guess Stephen King's net worth is today? According to Celebrity Net Worth, Stephen King's estimated net worth is $500 million. Yes, you heard right, $500 million. In addition to his profitable book and film rights, Stephen is also responsible for collaborating with several musicians, most notably Michael Jackson, on various projects. He helped in the creation of the short film Michael Jackson's Ghost that was made in 1996, which tells the story of an eccentric man with supernatural powers being forced out of a small town by its judgmental mayor. But enough about the King of Pop. Do you know how many books King has written in total? As of 2022, the author has published a total of 96 books, according to HookedToBooks.com. These stories range from his classic fiction works to nonfiction books about his writing process. He's also written a few children's books as well as novels under the pen name Richard Bachman. With all these stories under his belt, it doesn't come as that much of a surprise that King has no memory of writing one of his novels. But sadly, the reason he can't remember has nothing to do with the fact that he has written so many. The reason he can't recall writing one of his books is that he was too high on drugs to have any recollection of the experience. Stephen King has no memory of writing Cujo because of his excessive cocaine use. In King's memoir, titled On Writing, he details his writing process and how he became the prominent author that he is today. Yet, unfortunately, despite his success, he battled an addiction to drugs and alcohol. While writing several of his novels in the 1980s, he had to write with cotton swabs up his nose because of his cocaine addiction. The first time he remembers getting drunk was his senior year of high school in 1966. By 1975, he decided he was an alcoholic. It dawned on him that he was an alcoholic, yet this realization did not sway his choice to keep drinking. He said, "I thought, I'm an alcoholic. I've got to be really careful because if somebody says, you're drinking too much, you have to quit, I won't be able to." By the 80s, King was introduced to cocaine while attending Hollywood parties as his books were made into movies. He also was addicted to cigarettes, smoking 2 packs a day, and added pills, mouthwash, sleep aids, and more to the toxic mix. King's own words about the addiction: "It was never about swinging from the chandeliers or throwing people through the window or getting laid or partying. I didn't go to bars much. One drunken asshole was all I could handle, and that was me. I wrote, I don't remember a lot of it. There's one novel, Cujo, that I barely remember writing at all," wrote King. "I don't say that with pride or shame, only with a vague sense of sorrow and loss. I like that book. I wish I could remember enjoying the good parts as I put them down on the page." King's been married to Tabitha King for over 50 years. She's a fellow writer who has written countless great stories such as Small World and Caretakers. And as much as Tabitha loves her husband, there was a breaking point where she was ready to leave him because of his immoderate drug and alcohol use. Got to the point where she had to stage an intervention for King. The point of this intervention was certainly as unpleasant for my wife and kids as it was for me, was that I was dying right in front of them, wrote King. Tabitha said I had a choice. I could get help at a rehab, or I could get the hell out of the house. She said that she and the kids loved me and that for very reason, none of them wanted to witness my suicide. Now, King has been sober for over 33 years, stating that an anonymous organization got him through it. He comments, "It certainly allowed me to live a more spiritual life in many ways. It makes it easier to live a moral life, because when you do something that's rather shitty, you know that you've done it, and you have to talk about it a little bit." What do King say about writers and abuse today? The idea that the creative endeavor and mind-altering substances are intertwined is one of the great pop intellectual myths of our time. Substance-abusing writers are just substance abusers, common garden variety drunks and druggies. In other words, any claims that the drugs and alcohol are necessary to dull a finer sensibility are just the usual self-serving bullshit. And with those words from the horror master, we end this video. Hope you liked the story, and if you did, please leave a comment. Do check out the video about Matoma becoming a world star after a phone call from Enrique Iglesias. See you in the next one.